Welcome to Writing Easy, the podcast that takes the act of writing, which can sometimes be not so easy, and tries to make it less not easy. I'm one of your hosts, Mary Mascari.
And I'm your other host, Melissa Long.
I am attempting to do this recording with my dog in my lap, and I think Hank is going to have to go back on the floor. So hold on for just a second. Hey, buddy, down you go. There you go.
My dog weighs 55 pounds, so she doesn't get to sit in my lap.
That's not lap, yeah. Now, Hank's like 10, I think. 10, he's little. He's a little guy. He's a little chihuahua guy, which is great. And normally he's very welcome in my lap, but he's also noisy and farty, and I don't want none of those sounds to be on the recording. All right. Well, that's a happy thing to think about, but we're going to think about a sad thing. Well, not a sad thing, just a thing that happened.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about burning out and feeling bummed, and sometimes when it's hard to write because other pleasant things are happening that are distracting you. And I see pleasant meaning unpleasant.
Unpleasant things. Life, though. Like, it's just life.
Yeah,
life happens.
Life. It sure does. And it can be, it can sometimes be tough to say, like, is the right thing for me to give myself a break? Or is the right thing for me to keep working?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I am the personality where I will take anything to say, like, oh, can't do it. Oh, sorry. Oh, well, bye. You know, time to go sit and stare at the wall and, you know, play on my phone. But sometimes you do need to take a break and give yourself a little rest when things get rough.
Yeah, I think my mood was reflected in a meme that I saw.
Yeah.
Last week. It was like a guy who was like sort of in this frazzled suit and a loose tie, and his like hair was all fray. And he was like, cool, so are we just all supposed to pretend that yesterday didn't happen? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
And it started a conversation about productivity and about, you know, specifically American culture, work culture, that like we don't stop for anything, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's a work day, it's a work day, and you're working, and if not, you're lazy, and you like all of these negative connotations come in. And I think even in 2020, it was a real push for people to realize like, okay, like we do need to reset some of these expectations when like the entire country is going through a pandemic. We're all working from home. Like we're all experiencing these new things collectively, but like we cannot beat ourselves up for not maintaining the same kind of work ethic or productivity that we had previously.
Yeah, you have to kind of be realistic with yourself. Acknowledge what's going on in your life. Acknowledge what effect it's having on you. Now, by the same token, you can't take these things and let them take over your life and make it so you can't do anything. Because a lot of times, these are things that you have no control over, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there are things that can be done. And to a certain extent, some of them you can do and some of them you cannot do. You can't, I mean, maybe you do want to give your life over to it and say like, okay, you know what, this is my thing now. But that has to be an active choice. And there's also a certain point where you have to say, you know what, okay, I've done what I can. Now I need to do other things, because you do need to keep working, because you do need your job. You need the money from your job to buy your house, you know, to pay for your food and all that sort of stuff. So that is a balance. And especially when you're trying to be creative, which is so based on play and experimentation and freedom, when you're feeling down or frightened, it can be really hard. You can feel guilty too. For like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing something more. There's this thing going on. I should be doing something about that. And this is being selfish to write, but I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Yeah, I had a breaking point because Mary knows this. Like, if you follow me on Facebook, you know this. There was a fire in my apartment building a week ago, and that day, like, I had all of these plans. I had a writers group thing. I had like some like consulting stuff with other writers that I was doing, and I was pumped up and I needed to be working. And I woke up at 4 a.m. to like a fire. So there's the I was already stressed and tired, and there's the emotional like trauma and the physical trauma. Everybody's safe, everything's safe, right? But like coming back from that and then like expecting to just like fall back into my workday was a real challenge. And it was none of the stuff that I had to do on that day was bringing me money. It was all writing related, all creative related. But I put this intense pressure on myself to be like, but I have this opportunity and I can't pass this up, and I don't want to let my friends down, and this is really important to them, and I enjoy this thing normally. So like I need to keep doing this and I need the distraction. But by the middle of the day, I was like, my body was physically like, no, like, like we need a moment to recover. And I was like making myself physically sick and like had to cut. But like it was a awakening for me, because I'm like, oh, like even when it's not for a paycheck and even when it's something that I love, sometimes I still need a break, and that's okay. And it's not a sign of failure. It's like, I just need to rest. If I had sprained my wrist, I would, or my ankle, I would wrap it up. I'd put some ice on it. I'd rest for a day or two, and then I'd be back at it. But because it was mental, I didn't want to give myself that permission.
It's tricky because it's so hard. Like, because when your ankle hurts, you're like, my ankle hurts. Look, it hurts. And when your emotions hurt, because they're so flexible, it can be really hard to tell what's causing them. And therefore, when you are then making the judgment, is this a valid reason? Is this a valid emotion for me to act on, to change what I'm doing because of? That can be really, really hard. It can be extremely hard. But you have to, I think it's an important thing to do, to stop and think and really assess. And if the answer comes back, no, you know what, I can't do this today, I have to rest, I have to take a break, then respect yourself to do that. Because if you play hurt, I mean, play hurt. Well, yeah and no. Like, you play hurt a little bit, but if you play hurt too much, then you don't play anymore because you're always hurt, or that sort of thing. So,
can we diverge? Because that makes me think of the gymnast, several gymnasts actually, right? In the Olympics, who get hurt and then do the gold medal winning, whatever, dismount, backflip, beam routine, right? There's many different examples. And then it's like this big, huge story. Everybody loves it because it's a triumph. And we make a huge deal out of it. And that becomes sort of like the expectation, right? For every single person. It's like, oh, but you should be able to do it.
Yeah, which is silly, because that's the reason it's notable, is because it's the exception.
Yes.
For one thing. And for another, it's, yes, there is overcoming adversity, which is important, right? And you need to be able to do that. And I think that's what people get excited about. And you have to play that, you have to make that judgment of, is this an instance of me overcoming adversity, or is this an instance of me hurting myself more? And for things like that, like the Olympics, that's a special situation. There is no writing Olympics. There is no this instant now or never, right? Because that was the thing. Like, I think about that Carrie Strug. Mm-hmm. I just think of Chris Kattan playing her, which is really sad. How she did that vault on a sprained ankle and landed it and won the thing, and that sort of situation, that sort of now or never pressure, doesn't come up very often in normal life. There's very few things that in our normal human lives, especially writing, that we can't say, hey, you know what, this can keep till tomorrow if it has to. Like, I can take a break. Where you get into trouble, you start to see it's going wrong, is if you're constantly doing that, or if you think about yourself and like, what is the reason I'm saying this? Is it because I really am tired, or am I afraid of something? Right. So you have to be honest with yourself. No matter what. So it's like it's like when you give someone directions to a place, and you have to know where they are first, right? So I can tell you how to get there. So anything we say is, oh, take it easy more, or work harder more. Those directions don't have any context unless I know where you're coming from. So if you're coming from a place of you're afraid of writing, you're afraid of what you're doing, you're putting it off because of fear, well, that's where I'm going to pull out the directions that say, no, you got to hold on, you got to overcome adversity, you can do this. If you're coming from a place of, dude, I'm exhausted, I'm feeling, other things are hurting me, my house just was on fire, I'm feeling ill, I know that if I take a break tomorrow, I'll be better. Okay, well then I'm going to give you the direction of take care of yourself, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love this idea of like, you have to learn how to know yourself and to be honest with yourself, or none of this works, right? And I think it's also, we are very complex creatures. So we feel multiple emotions at the same time. And sometimes it's about making that judgment call of saying like, okay, I could possibly injure myself, but this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so I'm willing to take that chance, right? But like, you have to be honest with yourself and sort of assessing the situation and listening to yourself to understand where's the line for you.
Yeah. And I think that it's exactly it. I think that the point we're trying to make is that if you decide I need to bow out, that is valid. That's one of the options that you have available to you. Carrie Strug, I apologize, could have just said, you know what, I don't want to risk it. Like, this is, Olympics are great and all, but this is my body and I don't want to do that. And if that was the decision she had made, that's valid too. So, you can't be, and writing is never the Olympics, just as an
No,
ever.
it's not.
Just never. Which is good, because I don't think
that. Like, nobody would have been like, oh my God, I can't believe she didn't perform that vault on that ankle.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we all know, like, oh, that sucks. And we would have talked about how tragic it was.
Yeah, and if they did, that's not their call to make. That was hers. And
I told you it was a distraction. I said it was like tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think there's something to this idea that resting is not quitting. And that is also a mindset that I've had to learn, is that you have to learn how to rest and give yourself space to rest and not think of it as failure, not think of it as quitting, knowing that you're going to come back the next day or a few hours later or whatever it is that you need.
It's hard because you got to trust yourself, and that's not always easy.
I mean, you've taken breaks. Like, I've taken breaks for months where I haven't written. And I do think when I first did it, I felt like, oh my God, I'm giving up on my dreams. I'm pulling away from this thing that I love, that I'm supposed to be doing. And so I failed at it. And that was not the right attitude to go into it with. But now that I'm older, I'm like, oh no, like, I knew I was going to, I came back to it. Of course I came back to it because I just needed a break.
If there's anything I've learned from this pandemic, right, where I am in a home with the 3 people I love the most in the world, 24/7, is that just because you love something doesn't mean you don't need a break from it. Like,
True that.
And like, I have to sometimes I'm just like, hey guys, I love you, I'm gonna go away now. And they go, like, we have our time apart and together. And it's, the time apart is not because I don't like you anymore. Just like, I need my me time. And so, sometimes you need your me time away from your writing. Doesn't mean you don't love it. Just means you need a break.
I'm also with the 3 things I love most in the world. Well, 2. No, 3. My dog, Netflix, and Amazon.
There you go. It's all you need in the world.
But I did need a break. I was like, I looked at that bill and I was like, ooh, I've been getting packages every day. Let's stop that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I hear you. Oh, my God. Because it's such a great thing to get that little package, that little box on your doorstep. It's like, oh, yay, it's Christmas. And you open it, it's like, yes, here's the vacuum bags I ordered. Woohoo. And then the rush is gone instantly. You're like, okay, now what? Like, oh, let's get some socks. Yeah, socks.
What else do I need?
I am so jealous of the neighbors across the street because they have a baby. And so Amazon's bringing them diapers all the time. Like, oh, they get a box.
Yeah.
Which is literally going to be full of shit. And yet well. All right. I feel like I think that we're running on time. So this has been a really good discussion. A good thing to think about is, remember, you have to take care of yourself. You have to be honest with yourself and be aware of what's driving, what's going on. Again, another little plug for therapy. And that way you can make more informed decisions on, Is this a good time to write, or is this a time to rest?
Mm-hmm.
And what you decide is valid.
Yes, yeah. And just go easier on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, writers. You're so critical sometimes.
Oh my goodness. No one wants a skinny Santa. It's all right. Sorry, that was random. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap up here. So, as always, we close by reminding everyone that writing is hard.
So take it easy.
I'm Mary.
And I'm Melissa.
Bye, guys.
Bye.